This is us, guys. It's going to be for all you people who have a leaky manifold on your common rail patrol. So let's go in the shop and assess this bad boy and see what's going on. This is the common rail 3-litre Patrol. Has the squeaky manifold. So let's go in and show you guys just what it takes to stop manifolds from squeaking on these things. Okay, so I have this big battery out of the way. He's now gone. We have the intake hose removed. We now need to disconnect our starter motor. That's an alternator. We all know that. Disconnect our alternator. We're going to drain the coolant and drop the belt. We're going to remove him. This hose here has to go for the intercooler. And then we can start getting to removing our heat shield, the actuator, and getting the turbo out of the car. So from underneath the truck, we can drain our radiator down, and our pulley tensioner is that little fellow right there. We'll back him off and drop the belt down. In order to remove this heat shield here, which I have loose, the easiest way I know is to remove the wastegate. Take him off. He has 3 bolts and a clip that retains him. On one side. Now, heat shield has plenty of movement to come out of the car. Still a bit of a mission. It's going to be a 2-hand job. That'll get that out and give us access to our downpipe, our EGR, and the bolts for our turbo. From the underside, we need to cut the exhaust because those bolts were never coming undone. And there is a retainer up here on the block, which is normally a 13. For some reason today it is a 14. Someone has been here before. Where are we? There you are. So with those two off, we can now get up the top and remove our downpipe. With the dump pipe out, all we have to do is undo these two for the oil return and that fellow up there for the oil supply to the turbo, and then we can go up the top and undo some turbo bolts. And just like that, our turbo's out of the way. Now we've got access to our bolts down the rear here for our EGR. There's 3 12mm here and 2 14s on the other side. They're always nasty tight. Then we can undo our manifold bolts and remove our manifold from machining. That is where your EGR comes around to the EGR cooler. Someone's done a bit of a block on this one with a lot of goo. It's retained by these 2 bolts, and I highly recommend you have a ratchet that does something like that to make it easy to get to. This is the manual, so it has the boosted clutch. That does make life harder. The automatic is a lot easier to get to. You can also remove this intercooler structure here. Just a couple of bolts, a few connections here, and this hose here. And that'll give you much better access too, but this will go for the win. We have to get him on. Right, with all that out of the way, the manifold comes out. We can see we've got a blown gasket on number 1, and I can tell you can't see it so well, number 4 there is leaking as well. We can also see that the studs are not genuine and that someone has used a large amount of silicone on the gasket. This has definitely been a part before and someone's tried to fix it. Unfortunately, if you don't machine the manifold, this will happen time and time again. There's our manifold. That's the first cylinder there. You can see he's been leaking, and this is a bit wet with inox that I used to get it all apart, but it's wet because it wasn't actually sealing here and it's all leaked in the back side of it. So that's that. Send this fellow out for machining, and we'll start again with a new gasket kit once I clean all the parts up. Alrighty, that's our manifold, all nice and freshly machined. It was out by quite a bit, 3mm. That's a substantial amount, so that's going to seal really nicely now. We've got all our genuine goodies. I've just laid up a fresh set of studs. We do have brand new nuts in there as well. There's the EGR gasket, must replace him. And that is all the gaskets for the turbo assembly, in and out, and the oil supply and return line. This fellow right here is our brand new genuine gasket. So I'm going to lay it all back up in there with our fresh studs and our clean face. Alright, unfortunately whilst doing this one up, we pulled the stud just clean out. It was just a bad thread, just not enough to hold the bolt. I did run the threads with the tap. Unfortunately that one there was just too far gone. So what I'm going to do, I've just drilled the hole out. This is the tap for our helicoil. We'll put a helicoil in this one and we should be set to get back on track with this show. So this is our helicoil kit. Basically this drill bit here is going to enlarge in our dead thread. This little fellow here retaps the new thread, and then you screw in this little insert, and that gives you your thread back to where you were. In this case it's M10 by 1.5. Little neat trick I do with these, I've modified this, it actually has a socket attachment, just a little 1/4 inch drive on there, and that allows me to get in there and use my small ratchet and work in a confined space like that without using the full T-bar. Okay, with the EGR pipe reconnected, we're going to put the turbo back in, 3 bolts for the new gasket. This guy here is a slide over, which is nice and neat and easy. This guy here is a gasket, show you them from under the car. Cleaned up both surfaces, have new genuine parts for those as well. With their turbo reinstalled, bolts done up tight, and the oil supply and return lines reconnected down the bottom, we can move on to our alternator. From the alternator we'll put our belt back on, and we'll get some coolant back in the engine. The reason the coolant comes out is there is a coolant line here. Where is he? Where are you, sneaky little guy? There he is there. No, not there. Anyway, he's folded up here, sorry. This one here is in the way. You need it, it comes across the face of the manifold here. It's the only reason we actually drain the coolant out, just to undo one little pipe. So yeah, that's that bit. Cool, get this done. This is a small issue with these. They get very old and this piece here gets brittle. You can see the end's broken out of our hose here. This is the intake hose for the turbocharger. You can buy a genuine one, they're $380. Or you can buy the Dayco one, which looks identical. There's the part number there if you're chasing one of these guys. And that's going to be a direct replacement, goes back in the same place. With all that done, that completes our engine bay. Alternator's back in, belts on and tensioned, coolant's back in the engine. That was that coolant line there that had to be removed, that's why we dropped the coolant. Heat shield's on, we fitted a 3-inch dump pipe to the turbo. Wastegate's back in, that turbo line's back on. All our little bits and pieces to support everything are all there and in. We need a battery, and we can probably fire this girl up. She runs again. That's everything back together. Just running it up to clear all the air out of my cooling system. I've already cleared to this point. Thermostat opens, we'll get it in the overflow as well. We'll be good to go. We've also gone and finished this truck out with a 3-inch exhaust system as well. The main reason for this manifold issue coming to be, especially in these common rail engines, they have 2 cat converters in them. One is in our downpipe and the other one normally sits about here. Those 2 cat converters block and cause mass heat in the manifold and cause it to warp. He pulls the studs and gives us that gasket leak like we heard. So that's how it's done, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been informative. Catch you on the next one.